100 years ago, the Minnesota Legislature recognized women's right to vote in presidential elections. In the year 2000, a memorial honoring the efforts of those who struggled to secure women's right to vote was dedicated on the state capitol grounds. Minnesota ratified the 19th Amendment to the United States Constitution in 1919, thereby giving women the right to vote. Where did the idea come from to create a memorial to women's suffrage?
Barb Stuhler approached us and she wanted a memorial recognizing the 19th Amendment, first of all, and recognizing Minnesota's role in it. The fact that the very first vote was in actually South St. Paul, 6 days after the national ratification occurred in 2020. In 1920. Originally she wanted a small bench with yellow and white flowers and a tree. And then it grew to this. We had a competition. We had numerous ideas. It came down to a split vote in the design competition. And this was chosen representing glacial movement and the speed with which women got the right to vote. So it's always been, they loved the idea, but it just grew enormously.
The Women's Suffrage Memorial rests on the corner of Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard and Cedar Avenue. We have a garden, we have a trellis, there are names on the trellis. What do all of these different elements represent?
Well, the garden, of course, because women are associated with gardening, and originally it was all wildflowers, prairie, which didn't work with the mall because so much grass and the irrigation and the soil conditions aren't conducive. You go to a prairie and you've got these little flowers at the top of tall stems, and it's not showy enough for people to understand garden. So we consolidated them. We re-established some different plant materials. We went with the hybridized versions, for instance, of the echinacea and the daisy, so that'd be more showy flower. And then 3 years ago, Department of Administration went in even more heavily with pollinators, and there's actually a sign that displays this as a pollinator garden. We actually have Rusty Patch Bumblebee, which is now the state bee, both here and the Workers' Memorial because of all
I've seen them among the flowers today.
Yeah. And so they take great pride in the fact that they've got that endangered bee here on the Capitol grounds. The interruptions and the hillsides and everything else was supposed to represent glacial moraines. So that is supposed to signify the speed with which women got the right to vote. You have these concrete markers that are along with the hillsides that are supposed to be part of the gardens. It's all part of the kettles and moraines and the glacial different formations. As the glaciers retreated over time, there were these markers, and you find different glaciations and all that kind of stuff. It's all meant to be part of the symbolism, and of course the fact that the wall is undulating on the south end of it, and there's where the podium is all part of that representation of time and not only the 100 years since women got the right to vote, but all the struggle before that happened. The trellis is actually impervious. You can't get past it. You have to go around it. Again, an obstacle that the women faced. There's 25 names on it. Were all local Minnesota women who were involved in the struggle. And the text tables along that trellis tell the story of the amendment itself and the right to vote and all the struggles, along with some of the different people, with one that's blank, left blank for it to be filled in at another time.
Over the years, what have you heard from people who visited this space?
One, the women just adopted it from the get-go. It's been a struggle because there's always weeding to be done, and they've wanted to come, and there's a liability issue if citizens get involved in that kind of thing. Everything from not understanding and the criticism that these little the little markers that represent the different eons of time the sidewalks are too small. I can't walk on the sidewalks, even though they weren't sidewalks. Criticism from those who didn't understand prairie that, put in grass seed and some tulips and call it done, and it could have been done with half the cost. We have a memorial bench to Barb Stuhler, who was one of the engineers of this whole thing, who saw it through from the inception all the way through the design competition. And when she died, it was the decision of the group to put in a memorial bench inside the garden because she worked on it from the inside. So it has a ton of symbolism, and we're going to be, over the next year, we're going to be rehabbing the whole garden with some monies that were made available through the legislature.
I know that one of the major colors for suffragettes was yellow, and there was a plan at one point to have yellow featured in this garden. As it's changed over time, that isn't true. But the garden will be redone, and how will it be redone, and will yellow be a new part of it?
Both yellow and white will be a lot stronger. You've got the purples right now, you can see in various tones, but some of the bushes that we put in will be replaced with daisies and jonquils that will be more cross seasons, both early season and late season, but a lot more of the whites and yellows are going to be reintroduced here with the rejuvenation of the entire garden.
And so what will the overall new look of this monument be when it's all done?
We're going to be repairing the wall. The trellis will be restored, and you'll see a lot more flowers and a lot more, it'll be much more cross season, so it'll be early spring, summer, and fall. So we'll keep the grasses, we'll keep the purple, but we have to add a lot more whites and yellow.
But ideally, it'll be a place for people to come and sit and enjoy the beauty. I often see people sitting on the wall in the shade on a warm summer day. So a continued place to come and enjoy.
Yeah, and including if they want to be out in the sun, they've got that wall. Some people, I've seen people picnicking out here and such like that. So we got a lot of work to do here, but over the next year, you'll see a big change.